Hi, and welcome to Mary's Eclectic Interests. My name is Dustin Cooper, and I'll be hosting this special episode with another set of comic book artists and creators. And our guests today are sitting beside me right here, and as they introduce themselves, they are...
I am Dave Wheeler.
And I'm Adam Vermillion.
Awesome. And you guys are comic book artists and creators of the series that we're going to be talking about today, which is under the brand Mindwave Comics, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Could you give us a little background about Mindwave Comics and how that kind of came to be?
Yeah, totally, man. So Mindwave Comics was formed in 2009 by my buddy Samir Barrett and myself. We co-founded it together. The name actually is derived from our two separate studio names. I was Mindblow Studios, he was Netwave Comics.
Oh, cool.
So we came up with Mindwave Comics. It sounded way better than the alternative, which I just don't even want to go into.
Okay.
But the whole purpose behind it was we wanted to create a kid-friendly, all-ages company. As we say in our kind of slogan, it's bringing back the rad versus the bad. We're bringing back just kind of classic good versus evil. We're having fun with it. Anybody can pick these up, whether you're 4 or 40. Anybody can pick them up and have a good time reading them.
No, awesome. Obviously, you guys sent in this little kind of a comic here that has a collection of all their different works and stuff. I'll point that to this camera here. And it's kind of like a cool breakdown of all these characters and stuff and the different artists and people that you work with.
Yeah, so Mindwave Comics Presents is kind of our sampler. We put together short stories for each one of these characters that were coming out, and basically we had a bunch of friends who wanted to get their characters out there and wanted to give a shot at making comics, and we said, hey, we got just the vehicle for it. So over the course of 3 years, we put out 3 smaller samplers as C2E2 exclusives, which is a show down in Chicago, Illinois.
Awesome.
And we just combined them into Mindwave Comics Presents Volume 1.
Awesome. And which characters did you guys both individually kind of work on or come up with?
So the cool thing is Adam is actually brand new to the fray.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He just joined up with Mindwave Comics,
I wrote a script for you about 14 months ago.
14 months? Gee,
Yeah,
you're not running a timer, are you?
I am. Yeah, and it's starting to run out. So let's get some stuff done, man.
We're working on it.
We are.
No, but so the cool thing is through that, we had a lot of first-time writers, we had a lot of first-time comic artists, and we also had some experienced vets. My buddy Heidi Foland illustrated the Totem short story in there, and the first full issue of that came out, which was a full 30 pages.
Awesome.
Then Mechanigal, a very experienced comic artist and local here in the Twin Cities. Joel Vollmer illustrated a story about the character Mechanigal, which my brother actually helped flesh out the script for that. Cinder was my buddy Nick Fugit and Nicholas Draper Ivy, and actually that is the story that Adam will be taking over. Annalise Ioni did Miss America, and I believe she's out at DreamWorks currently.
Oh,
so
awesome.
unfortunately, not so many comics coming right now,
Right.
but other fantastic works.
Sure.
The Leopard Sisters did Madam Monster, and Alicia Ross and Samir did Pocket Girl. So the whole goal from this was to develop full series, full issues from all these short 6-page or 6 and 7-page stories, and we've been going from there. So Totem was the first full issue one. Miss America actually has a full issue one within the confines of that book. And then we are working right now with another local talent, Eric Schuster, on Cinder #1 right now. Well, not right now, but
Okay, great.
currently.
Could you guys maybe talk a little bit of a preview of what the character is or what the storyline kind of follows or any tidbits that you guys feel like talking about?
spoilers.
Right.
No spoilers.
No
All right.
spoilers.
You want me to take this over?
Yeah, man.
All right, since I'm
Go to town.
writing the scripts for this one. So Cinder is a young guy named Andrew Chestnut, a little down on his luck. He and his dad are homeless, living in a homeless shelter. And so, he's kind of got a beef with the world. Life used to be good, now life's
Right.
pretty down in the dumps. And one day while he's at work, a little encounter with some thugs ensues, and he's introduced to a magical ring that contains the fires of the gods, the Prometheus ring,
Oh, awesome.
and becomes Cinder.
Great. And obviously, you're just kind of starting this stuff out. How long of a kind of a run are you looking to have with this character?
I'd like to go for a long time. Right now, the first 5 issues are plotted. The first issue script is completed, so that's what Eric is working on now for the art. But I have ideas beyond those first 5 issues.
Okay.
And we'll just see where it goes. But right now, it's like, let's get this first story arc done.
Right. Yep.
You know, enough to sell single issues, enough to collect it into a trade, to sell to that market, things like that.
And that's the kind of interesting thing because Mindwave Comics is a very small company. So our release schedule is varied because all of us, we have jobs outside of Mindwave Comics, whether it's working on other comics, whether it's, you know, I mean, any number of things. It's a fascinating, odd blend of people. I mean, we have people who train people, you know, within technology, and then we have people who crunch numbers and make spreadsheets. Well, at the same time, we have people who are storyboard artists for cartoon shows, gear designers for wrestlers, stuff like that.
Sure.
So, but the one thing that we share is a common goal of creating kid-friendly, all-ages comics.
No, and I think that's a really great message, especially nowadays, because you know you can get comics anywhere digitally or in the stores, which I think is my favorite aspect of it, is actually getting to hold it and look at it. And I think there is a lot of mature content out there, but there's not enough also for the kids and stuff that they can pick up and jump into, and it's something new, so they don't have to worry about where the storyline picks up type of thing.
Definitely, and that's the cool thing is that's something that. As a company, we strive to do. I mean, we really focus on being able to have anybody pick up these books. And if we do work on other projects, we try to make those equally accessible. Recently, we finished The Untold Tales of Chikara Volume 2. My buddy Samir and I, we did the anchor story, and I actually laid out the entire book. It's a comic book for Chikara Pro Wrestling, based out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They are basically a live-action comic book with pro wrestling and lucha libre action.
Okay.
So the cool thing is these characters are larger than life, and they put out these comics to kind of tell the more fantastical elements of these stories. So when the magic hits and everything, I've been a fan of a really long time of them, and getting to work with them, getting to work with the owner Mike Quackenbush, and a lot of the talent there has just been phenomenal because they have the same view. Their show is completely kid-friendly. There's no blood, no guts, no gore, no cursing. It is kid-friendly. In fact, I was at their season finale just a couple weeks ago, and you know, there were kids as young as 4 years old. They're wearing lucha libre lucha masks, and just going, you know, ape over, you know, these guys doing these insane maneuvers. And then at the same time, you know, you have these villains that come out and they're booing them, and you know, it's the same. The same responses we want to our characters. Our characters are just in print. Their characters are real. So.
Absolutely. Would you mind going back into like kind of your inspirations for you guys and kind of like previous stuff you've worked on, or just your background a little bit, so the audience can get to know you more?
I've been talking a lot, man.
Okay.
Let's start with you.
I'd talk a lot as it is on my show. As far as comics goes, I've been reading comics since I was a kid, a little over 30 years now. You know, my dad bought me my first one, just kind of got hooked, and have never stopped reading. Decided when I was in high school, oh, maybe I'll try writing comics because I couldn't draw to save my life. So, and just, you know, had many attempts at trying to get stuff off the ground as I worked on that and through my 20s, and nothing really seemed to stick. And then started hanging around Dave and being around all the other local comic people, and just kind of got the juices started up again. So I guess as far as influences go, it's just being around all the amazing local talent that we have here in the Twin Cities as far as comic book creators go, because there's a gigantic amount of local creators here in town.
Which is fantastic. I mean, and it's one of those things that when you say Minneapolis, Minnesota, you know, people think of the theater, people think of you know, a lot of the just fantastic things about the Twin Cities. But you know, the arts in Minneapolis and St. Paul, in Minnesota in general, are a pretty fantastic thing. Whether it's, you know, the underground rap scene or the comic scene or just music and, like I said, theater, it's a fantastic to be a creative person. I think that came out great. But as far as influences and such go, I mean, I have a brother who's 5 years older than me. He would read me comics. My dad would read me comics. you know, it was just one of those things of, I've always been around them. So, you know, I've always been drawing, I've always been creating, and, you know, creating some of these characters was just an outlet for me. You know, is a way to, you know, kind of escape things and just kind of be able to get out of the real world for a second and be able to put something fantastical together.
No, I think this is just fantastic. You know, there should be more of this kind of going around because, like I mentioned, there's not enough stuff for kids to get into, and stuff that's like you said, good. There's not going to be cursing. There's not going to be gore, violence, intensity, or anything that, you know, books like The Walking Dead or something like that would have, which again is the complete opposite end of the spectrum. But could you talk about maybe like what you hope you like to do in the future? Is there any other characters that you guys are trying to work, or is it like?
I mean, that's the thing. It's ongoing. It's ever growing. The crazy thing is, Samir and I sat down when he was up here for FallCon, and we kind of figured out we have something like over 700 characters that we've created,
fantastic.
and you get to meet and see a lot of them throughout the books, and there's so many that we haven't even touched on yet, and that's the exciting thing. I mean, we have this mapped out very, very far. It's, you know, again, it's finding the time, finding the funds to, you know, get these printed, get them out to shows and whatnot. One of the fantastic things, like I said, we wanted to get these in the hands of young readers. We want to keep people reading, whether it's digitally, whether it's physically. And one of the crazy things to me is I've had kids come up to me and actually say this was my first comic.
Oh,
and
that's
for me,
great.
like, mine was Amazing Spider-Man. I beat that comic to death. And to think that one of the Mindwave comic books, specifically Misadventures of Wonder Boy or The Bolt or Untold Tales of Chikara or any of them, could be someone's first glimpse into this field is something that's absolutely amazing to me. And just it gives me the warm fuzzies because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get these in the hands of young readers.
Absolutely. Could you maybe talk about the process of when you get to meet with other creators and kind of concepting like what you want to do or what they have envisioned in their head?
For
and
sure.
How that works out.
The kind of crazy thing with this is so much of it is derived from Samir's and my brain. And then, you know, we have this basis for a character like Cinder. We have, you know, a little 6-pager in that Mindwave Comics Presents Volume 1. And then we have passionate individuals like Adam here who really, really, you know, wanted to try their hand at making a comic, or try their hand again at making a comic, and, you know, really, really moving forward with it. And, you know, we sat down and I said, hey, look, this is the character. This is the feel that we want going forward with them. This is the general direction we want to go. I want to see what you can do. And what, a week later, you had a draft, or maybe 2 weeks?
It was about a month. I said about 3 weeks, really trying to wrap my head around how I wanted to break the first issue and where I wanted to take the storyline. Because I was having a real difficult time with how I wanted things to play out, how I wanted the Ring and Andrew to come together without it being like super hokey or too coincidental, things like that. So it was like really thinking about it for a long time as I was like writing down plot ideas and things like that, because it'd been a while, it'd been maybe 8 or 9 years since I had like written something fiction, and I just wanted to knock that first script out of the park and, you know, make Dave happy and have him say, yeah, I want you on board with the studio. So.
Well, and that was the kind of fun thing. I mean, Mindwave Comics came about because of a collaboration that started out of a friendship. Again, Samir and I started on Wonder Boy, The Misadventures of Wonder Boy, #1. We both went to school down at Savannah College of Art and Design down in Savannah, Georgia. We were part of the revival of the Sequential Art Society down there.
Okay.
I had been doing little workshops down there and such, just because kind of talking to the underclassmen, going, hey, you know, this is what I've learned in these classes, and this is how we're doing this way, and, you know, this is something that you can take a look at. And then I got to talking with Samir, and he was doing a project where he was just kind of drawing all of his friends as these characters. And, you know, just kind of like everybody all of a sudden had a superhero identity. And he looked at me, and he looked at me, and he saw Wonder Boy, and he's like, "That's you, like that's you, like that." So he drew me as Wonder Boy, And the funny thing is that is how Wonder Boy started. Wonder Boy started out as a journal comic. With me, that's how I drew myself. And I hated writing and drawing about myself. It was a journal comic, and I really didn't like it. But I liked the idea of a teenage superhero, not immediately going spandex.
Right.
You know, so that's what I wore in high school. That's what I still wear today. I still got my Chucks on, baseball sleeve tee, you know, jeans. That's his costume, and then he has just a domino mask on. That's his superhero costume. I mean, so it was one of those fascinating things of, you know, every so often, you know, when I do shows, I'll forget and like I'll shave this back down into like my old Abe Lincoln chin strap, and it's like, oh crap, because then people are like, that's you. It's like, in some way, didn't help that I named him Dave Whalen, which is actually an inside joke, but. You know, there's a lot. The thing is in all these characters, there's a lot of people from the past. You know, a lot of friends, a lot of family, a lot of characters from my own personal history and, you know, our friends' personal histories.
No, I think that comes through too. I mean, even in some of the artwork and stories and characters, like variety is just totally there, and I love it. I mean, like every comic has its own feel and tone and kind of like, I don't know, vibe that it gives off. That I think, again, works for any type of kid, different type of imaginations, you know. Could you guys maybe talk about, like, the difficult process it is, like all the challenges you guys have to face as somebody that's a local artist trying to get this ball kind of rolling?
It's fascinating to me because as a local creator here in the Twin Cities, like I've gotten the chance to freelance and I've gotten to work with the big guys. I've gotten to work, you know, doing colors and stuff and inks with, you know, the larger companies, which I'll just leave those off.
Right.
But we're focusing on indie labels and stuff. But the thing is I found, you know, like when I was a little kid, I was like, oh, I want to work for Marvel, I want to work for DC. But when I got that chance, you know, even to do fill work, it was so exciting to do, but it wasn't as fulfilling as doing this, as putting these characters out there. And part of that challenge is realizing that, you know, like a lot of people are going to look and go, well, why aren't you trying to go and do that? Why aren't you trying to just do work with them? And it's like, like nothing against them. I read tons of their books and I love their companies, but I have so much more fun doing this stuff, creating and getting these into the hands of young readers, and being able to then convey that to kids of, no, you know, you don't have to do it for someone else. You can create something that is your own, you know, that you can make this happen. Misadventures of Wonder Boy #1 has sold over 25,000 copies, and I've pretty much touched almost every single one of those, you know. Thank you. You know, it's the thing though of it's a small indie book, but you know we try to make them larger than life.
Right. And Adam, I don't know if you want to talk about at this point your own little podcast that you do and how kind of the other artists you kind of talk with and their experiences and stuff.
That logo.
Yeah, we got the Panels and Pizza podcast. That's the logo, designed by Ashley Hay for Fancy Pants Gangsters is the network that the podcast is on. Okay. And so I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I don't know, after just listening to so much, I decided I want to try my hand at this. I haven't been creative for a long time, but there's still this creative bone in my body, and I want to get out there and try something. I was at that point recently had just become a father, and was like thinking, like what? Yeah, she very young, and thinking about what kind of, as silly as it sounds, what kind of legacy can I leave my kid? What kind of like footprint on the world can I leave where she can maybe see where, well, Dad did something fun and did something creative. I can be a little proud of him for this. And so I decided, well, why not try podcasting? And I just, much like knowing Dave with the comics, I happen to know Evan Peterson, who is the head of Fancy Pants Gangsters podcast network here in the cities. I was like, hey, I have this idea for a show. What do you think? And he says, well, I like it. Do a pilot. Okay. And I was like, well, how do I do a pilot? Right. It's like, I don't know any comic book creators, because the idea was
wrong.
I don't wrong. Because the idea behind the show was, I love pizza, I love comic books. Let's take the local comic creators out, eat pizza, and talk about what they're working on, and shine a spotlight on the Twin Cities comic book scene. And once I got the green light, I was like, well, what do I do? Well, luckily I knew Dave, because Dave works at Hot Comics and Collectibles with locations in New Hope, Richfield, and Jordan.
Yeah.
And I was like, Dave, I have an idea for the show. Would you like to film or record a pilot with me? And he was back to me within 2 minutes, just was like, hell yeah.
Awesome.
And it was his enthusiasm to want to do it that made me move forward, because I have a really difficult time like implementing projects, because I just lots of self-doubt. But
sure,
because of Dave, we got the ball rolling on it. We filmed the pilot. It got picked up.
Over 100 episodes later.
Recorded episode 112 last night.
Oh, congrats. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah.
And so it's a weekly show. It's new episodes every Wednesday to coincide with New Comic Book Day. And so you can grab it off of iTunes and Stitcher and Spreaker and Google Play and SoundCloud, right at the fancypantsgangsters.com, a website. So yeah, we just keep going, and the show's booked until like mid-March of 2017 with guests. So it's just kind of become a thing.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Have you guys had any of these creators on here, or talk
Dave,
about your work?
Dave has been on the show 9 times.
Right.
I'm the backup player.
Yeah,
no,
He's
great.
like,
Okay.
someone backed out.
Yeah, we call him
Dave.
Plan D.
Okay.
And if we have like a last minute reschedule or cancellation with a guest, I know I can count on Dave to be able to free up some time in his schedule to sit down and knock out an episode. And sometimes we'll do a regular episode where we're out and we're talking comics, or just this past week, it was such a late minute notice that he was like, why don't you come over and watch The Flash? And I was like, why don't we record while we watch The Flash? And so that's what we did. I don't know.
I was listening to that and I'm like, oh my God, that was right before I got sick. And I'm like, I can hear myself getting sicker over the episode. That's astonishing.
I don't know how well received this episode's going to be by the listeners, but you know what? I had a lot of fun doing it. And
it was
something
always a good
different.
time, yeah.
And we finally got Haggie's Pizza, which we joke about,
yes.
and had Haggie's on the show. And yeah, but it's been a lot of fun. The show's been going on for over 2 years now. Doesn't seem
That's
like.
fantastic. Yeah.
Now he knows a lot of comic
Yeah, now I know a lot of comic book creators.
And there's so much to talk about too now,
Yeah.
including the
definitely.
boom now that they're huge in television,
Yep.
movie. I mean, anywhere you look, there's something.
Everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't look around and not see something. I mean,
Right.
it's fascinating to see. Like, I remember, being in elementary school and stuff, and like wearing, Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff, and like Spider-Man stuff. People are like, nerd.
Yep.
Yeah,
And now it's
yeah.
like used to be an insult. Now it's a
Yep.
compliment. It's like,
You-
yeah,
You
that's
should have
awesome.
you should have tried being into this stuff in the 80s and 90s in Southeast Iowa. Yeah, it's like, don't you want to play football? I was like, no, I just want to read X-Men, man. So-
You don't understand. Chris Claremont, Dave Cockrum.
Pretty
they know
much
what's up.
Claremont and Byrne, yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
No, I totally understand that. And I mean, like, do you get a sense of that too as you guys have grown up through the years? Have you noticed this boom?
Oh,
and like,
yeah.
Maybe that's the sensibility of why you
Definitely.
want to have something for kids to jump into?
I mean, definitely both of us are, well, he has been a father now for over 2
Closing
years.
in on 3 years in April.
Jeez, that's
Yeah.
crazy. I'm a brand new dad. I got a 4-month-old at home. So, it's the thing of being able to, look at the world and be like, wow, this is stuff that, we used to get made fun of for.
Oh,
but now it's
yeah.
like, wait, this is the norm. This is pop culture. This
Right.
is what's in. This is what's going on now. And like, that's freaking amazing.
I mean, these days you can walk into Target, Walmart, you can buy a T-shirt, you can buy magnets, you can buy, tumblers for your coffee with
Yeah.
these characters on it. Where, especially like when I was
We used to have
growing
to put
up,
stickers on.
you'd have to do stickers, or you would really have to go to a larger city
To
to a
find
comic
something.
book shop to
Right,
find
right.
merchandise like that. And now it's everyday things that you can go to Target, Walmart, wherever, and buy this stuff. And I never once thought I would ever see that.
And that's the
growing up.
fascinating thing, like Adam had mentioned, like you had mentioned, I do work at Hot Comics and Collectibles a couple days a week, which is a local comic store chain here in the cities. The cool thing is being in the shop and seeing the audience. Like, we have people
Right.
who are 75 years old coming in to pick up Amazing Spider-Man, right next to a 9-year-old coming in to pick up Amazing Spider-Man. Same thing with these. We have these books on the shelf there. We have a local creators area, much like a lot of the shops here in the cities. But you see kids like going in and checking it out. We have a kid-friendly section specifically to encourage young readers.
Right.
And that's the neat thing is we're really, really pushing for that next generation to really keep carrying this on. And yeah, hotcomicsandcollectibles.com. Yeah.
I think you guys are doing obviously a phenomenal job with like the characters, the what you're doing on the podcast scene, getting to talk to people, getting their voices heard and kind of read out there, even in Hot Comics, interacting with people.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just it's great. And I remember even when I was a younger kid, where I lived, I didn't have a comic book shop. I think Schindler's was around at the time,
Yep.
and those kind of closed down.
Yep.
But like now, how has it been for you guys with the digital scene? Have you guys messed around with it, or are you kind of like not yet? We don't want to mess into it.
I actually know a lot of folks that work at Comixology and such, and like that's one of the premier digital comic distributors. And the thing is I know a lot of people are switching to digital, but still buying physical, just as many physical books. They buy them for convenience with digital, and then they buy them for their
Right.
collection,
Right.
physically. And it's been fascinating to see. We'll have some people drop some titles or whatnot, and be like, "Well, I'm picking it up digitally," but then they come in and pick it up and trade, so that they can have that collection, which is cool. I mean, it's a different. It's a different way of collecting now.
Right.
It's just kind of fascinating to me.
I don't do the digital thing. I have a very difficult time handing over my money for
I like
some.
holding it.
Yeah, I like holding it in my hand. What I always like to say is I like a tactile representation of my money being exchanged.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I want a product. I don't want a PDF on a tablet. I want to be able to have my copy of, going into bragging here, my copy of Daredevil #1, autographed by Stan Lee,
yeah.
which you can't take your iPod or iPad and go like, hey, autograph this screen.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah,
You can. It's not nearly as cool though.
and I think it's really cool that people can get these things digitally. They don't
Right.
have to worry about bagging and boarding after they're done with
Sure.
things. They don't have to worry about the storage and filing and all of
the
that
storage.
that is
Yeah.
involved with the hobby that you don't really think about until you get into the hobby,
Really
about
into
how
the
much
hobby.
time
Oy.
there is to taking care of physical books. So I could see where if somebody doesn't want to have all of this stuff just sitting around their house, the digital really is the way to go.
Getting around.
But I don't know if I'll ever make that leap, just because I'm a creature of habit, I guess.
No, sure. I'm the same way. I'm a physical copy guy. But say we're running out of time. I just wanted to thank you guys again for coming on. And if you want to tell the people where they can find your work and stuff one more time.
Mindwavecomics.com. We have a virtual store through there. We also have apparel and stuff through our Redbubble site. Support your local comic shop, hotcomicsandcollectibles.com. Support any of the local comic shops. They're all awesome, but I'm a little particular to Hot Comics.
Biased. Yeah, for me, you can find Panels and Pizza over at fancypantsgangsters.com. There's also a Facebook site you can check out. Not very much of an updated Twitter, but Facebook is where the updates are happening. New episodes every Wednesday for download or streaming. So that's where you can find me. And eventually on mindwave.com, because Cinder issue 1 will be available, hopefully soon-ish.
God
Yeah,
willing.
let's do it.
So thanks again, guys, for joining us for this special episode. And again, this is with Mindwave Comics. And thanks so much, Adam and Dave.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you
you,
much,
Dustin.
man.
It's been a pleasure.
Awesome.